I want to bring in Congressman Adam Smith of Washington State, the top Democrat on the Armed Services Committee. Hi, Congressman. Joint Chiefs Chairman General Mark Milley testified today in front of your committee. Let's listen to part of that.
I'm concerned not only about that, but any coherence and cohesion between Russia and China in this particular strategic environment that we're in. We're seeing that where the two of them are getting closer together.
He added Iran is also a concern and said the U.S. is facing an even more complicated threat than the Cold War. Do you agree with that assessment?
Absolutely. I think both Chairman Milley and Secretary Austin in their testimony today clearly laid out the national security challenge we face, and it's profound. China, Russia, Iran, North Korea, they essentially want to break the current world order. We've spent the last 80 years since World War II trying to build a rules-based international order where countries resolve their differences peacefully through international organizations. China and Russia want to push the West out, and they want to push that order down so that they can pursue their interests aggressively, so that they can bully the rest of the world. We need to rally the rest of the world to maintain that international order. And I think both Secretary Austin and Chairman Milley laid out both that challenge and how we're trying to meet it quite well today.
Yeah, and General Milley also said, though, that very little can be done to stop China from ramping up its nuclear program. But he also assured lawmakers that the U.S. arsenal can still defend the country if China does launch a nuclear weapon at the United States. And I'm curious, are you feeling more relieved or worried after that hearing?
Well, it's nothing I didn't already know, so I wouldn't say that went up or down. But look, I am quite confident that we have a strong national security plan in place to create a situation where we are not going to be dragged into a war with China, where we are going to be able to defend our interests. But look, the overall goal here is peaceful coexistence with China. China's not going anywhere. They are a growing power, both economically and militarily. And we're not going anywhere. We are a power, both economically and militarily. We have to find some way to get along with China, but part of that is being sure that we are strong enough to deter them from taking aggressive military action.
I want to talk about Ukraine President Vladimir Zelensky and what he is saying, that he wants to engage directly with Chinese President Xi Jinping. Is that a good idea in your view?
Yes, I think it is. Look, China on Ukraine is trying to have it both ways. They claim to the rest of the world that they are champions of sovereignty, that they don't want to violate other countries' sovereignty or dictate how other countries can conduct their business. But they've refused to condemn Russia, and in some instances they've helped Russia, as Russia has done the most violent, aggressive violation of sovereignty since the end of World War II. So China needs to be dragged into this, and I think President Zelensky is quite smart. Get China on the world stage, make sure that the rest of the world sees where China is at, to pressure President Xi to not help Russia, to actually live up to his rhetoric. So I think it's a very smart move by President Zelensky.
Before we let you go, I want to get your take on Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and President Biden trading barbs over proposed judicial reforms in Israel. Yesterday, Biden said Netanyahu can't continue down this road. Netanyahu hit back, saying he doesn't respond to pressure from abroad. Do you think Biden made a strategic choice to bring this disagreement into such a public arena?
Absolutely, and I think he was smart to do it. Look, Israel is a crucial and important ally for a whole wide variety of reasons. But what President Netanyahu is doing right now is dangerous. He's going after some of the central tenets of Israeli democracy. We're a partner with Israel in part because we've always said they are the sole democracy in the Middle East. I think a lot of the moves that President Netanyahu is making right now are undermining that. We want to maintain a strong relationship with Israel. It's perfectly appropriate for President Biden to bring attention to these movements by Netanyahu that threaten that.
I also want to note you and more than 100 other House Democrats signed onto a letter urging President Biden not to restart family detention at the border, insisting that there are alternatives to the cruelty of family detention. What are they, and do law enforcement agencies have the resources to enforce these alternatives?
The biggest alternative is effective asylum. We have asylum laws in this country. When people seek asylum, there's a process for them to seek that, figure out whether or not they qualify, and either let them in or send them back. We need to spend a lot more time making sure that we have enough judges and enough process to go through this asylum process. I think we can do this in a humane way. I support President Biden trying to work with Mexico and other countries. This isn't just a U.S. problem. migrant problem starts throughout Latin America and traverses a whole lot of different countries. We have to work together to figure out the most humane way to deal with what is undeniably a crisis for multiple countries and for hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people.
So then do you think the proposal on family detentions, what the Biden administration wants to do, is inhumane?
I don't think it's necessary as it's currently outlined. Absolutely.
But do you think it's inhumane?
Look, I mean, inhumane is going to mean a lot of things to a lot of different people. So it's hard for me to sort of, say that one way or the other. I'd have to look at the policy closely. I don't think it's necessary. I think it does cause suffering for children and families in a way that we ought to be able to avoid.
All right, Democratic Congressman Adam Smith, thank you for your time.